They say the nightmare is over. But if it's over, why am I still holding my breath? I spent my 2025 creating content for entrepreneurs to share my journey and others' journey on how to build things that last. But I went to Germany to meet a man who taught me something more dangerous: how to build something that saves you. To understand why I love this project, you have to understand the math of our loss. On January 3rd, the headline whispered that Venezuela was free. Today, February 3rd, a month after the surgical military extraction of a dictator, dozens of political prisoners were excarcerated. Among them, 20 journalists walked out of prison, but over 800 people remain inside, triggering the world to keep them on their prayers and trying to push the still Venezuelan dictatorship to release them for real. I know all of this sounds super political, but to understand if we want to build a business, we need to understand basics economic and political issues around the world. Venezuela is highly linked to the USA at the minute, and that's why we need to understand this situation. Also, because I'm a Venezuelan, I'm deeply, profoundly connected and touched about what is happening. Conform 7.9 million, a quarter of the last census of Venezuela, the largest exodus of the Western Hemisphere. That's my friend, siblings, neighbors, that's me, that's probably you. And we didn't leave just because we wanted to explore the world. We left to survive, even we were not aware of that. 18,739 is the number of arbitrary detentions since 2014, just for tweeting, for marching, for making art. For years, we scream and the world just scrolled past. So, when I had the opportunity to interview this fantastic director, I packed my bag for a trip I didn't plan to make. I went to meet Diego Vicentini because he understands the root of the word passion. It doesn't mean excitement, it means suffering. He suffered for this film. So today, when the prisoners walk free, we don't see inmates, we see Simón. Diego spent 14 months editing, 32 terabytes of pain, so we wouldn't have to explain ours. He risked 20 years in prison under the hate law just to get the film to the Oscars. He didn't build a product, he built a mirror. So, if you're a creator asking, is it worth it? Look at him. This is chapter 1, the call.
Okay, so here we are with Diego. Let me see if it's recording. Here we are with Diego, and he's gonna explain, first of all, how do you embrace your authenticity? It's a weird question now. But tell us, because my channel is about entrepreneurs, creative, and how do we, being outsiders or from another country, how do we embrace ourselves? So how do we embrace our authenticity?
Sure. I always go back. There was this advice given to me by one of the film professors when I was gonna make the short film that became Simón before it was a feature film. And he just said, whatever you make your project about, whatever you're gonna write this short film about, I would recommend to make it about something you really care about, because it's just gonna be a lot of work. It's gonna take you a lot of time, and if those moments you wanna give up, you'll be pushed a little further just because you care about the subject matter. So that's why I ended up deciding to make something about Venezuela. And in that theme of authenticity, I think when you act aligned with what your heart really cares about, it's almost like bound to go well. Maybe not even in the ways you expect of like, oh, success and it did this, but there's something about being aligned that you'll just really feel yourself committed to a specific vision, whether it's entrepreneurship in a business or in an artistic realm. But I think that's when you'll really be guided, and things will come together. The right people will come together when you have like a proper mission that you want to do it for a reason. That tends to, in my experience, have been very beneficial to everything. The reason we made this movie was because we really cared, and then everybody who hopped on the project cared. And this is a really small indie, low budget movie, and I think it grew because the people that made it cared, and the people that watched it cared too.
Caring. He makes it sound gentle, but when the subject is Venezuela, caring is a heavy thing to carry. Diego didn't just care. He metabolized 32 terabytes of footage. He spent 14 months alone in a room with our ghost. He watched the torture, the screams, and the silence frame by frame. Why? Because he knew that if he did the work, we wouldn't have to. He became the alchemist, so we could just be the witness. So I asked him what it feels like to carry a story that refuses to become the past. Welcome to Chapter 2, The Descent.
Initially, we were thinking about something related to your film and how deep it is, but because it's super intense, it's a lot of information, it's better that you do your research and watch the film and then come back. Can you tell me a little bit about how do you feel now? You are helping so many Venezuelans to share the story, and it's really difficult for us to tell our story, but you just share in a video, in a 1 hour and 40 minutes almost, and that's the entire story. And today is really relevant right now, even though the first short was in 2018, and then you made it in 2023, the film was released, and now 2025, almost 2026, still is relevant. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, in some sense, it's unfortunate it's still relevant. We would love the movie to now become just a record of history and get to look back at the situation that we lived through, but unfortunately it's still very much relevant. This is still going on right now. There are around 800 political prisoners at this very moment. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's still relevant, yet we are glad in a way that it's become a tool that Venezuelans can use, because yeah, like even in the movie, that one of the main themes is PTSD and the post-traumatic stress disorder. It's difficult to talk about this stuff. It's difficult to explain, and so it's tough. I can understand from the outside perspective, like you don't know what's going on in Venezuela, but it's still difficult for Venezuelans to even explain themselves. So we're glad that if this movie can help also Venezuelans, just to, instead of, because it's also emotionally involved to have to talk about this. So it's like, can you watch this and then we can like discuss further. But so if it can also relieve some of us from having to spend 4 hours in a monologue to try to explain, they can outsource that time to the movie, and then hopefully other people can connect emotionally and understand some of the details. Not all of them, of course, not by a long shot, but at least some of the essential bits.
As a Venezuelan journalist, I need to address the horrible story of Ramón Centeno, one of the ex-carcel political prisoners. He wrote an article that was never released. Because of that, he was on prison for around 4 years. During that time, the mother was there doing her best to try to release him. Once he was released, he just spent a few days with her because she passed away because of a stroke. He's not free yet. He's in the middle of this terrible situation. I had prepared a different introduction and conclusion for this video, but because all these things has been happening so lately, I had to change the vibe of my video. So yeah, this is a video about how we can present our passion and build something that truly matters for a culture, for a country, for everyone. And I invite you to do the same. If you're building something, create something that you really love, something that you know that you can spend 10 years constructing and promoting it, and you will be still proud of the product, service that you created.
So last question will be, can you encourage the young generation to do something and that they follow their dreams and just carry on with what they need to do? To be someone like you, to be featured at Forbes, where else have you been featured? You've been talking everywhere. Oh, top 10 Netflix. What? So it's a lot. So can you tell me, embrace them, tell them this is what you have to do, follow your dream.
Yeah, I'd say similar to like the first thing I was talking about. If there's something you care about, it's very likely other people will care about it too, because at the end we're all very similar. Like we're more alike than we are different. So if there's something that you genuinely care about, and whether it's going to be expressed in a business endeavor or in some kind of artistic expression, it's bound to connect. So the more you can stay true to what's true to you, that's what will connect with people. And again, if we take this movie as an example, it's not the movie itself, it was the audience who carried it into the places it got to. So people that took it as their own, that really cared and felt identified with it. And that could only be true if us who made it stuck true to the vision. And instead of trying to anticipate what will people like, what will they connect to, it's just like, what do we connect with? What's heartbreaking for us, or what's inspiring for us? So yeah, I'd say rather than try to anticipate other people's, like stay true to your thing, and somehow things end up turning out for the best in the important ways that matter. So go for your dreams.
Go for your dreams. Thank you very much.